We are here with Horst Stasius.
That's
Thank
right.
you very much for giving us the time to do this interview. I would like um, I would like to know if you could introduce yourself just a little bit before.
Well, as you told my name already, Horst, I'm born in Holland, actually, and that's why I could speak a little bit Dutch. That was very helpful when we were in Indonesia. Many old people could speak Dutch there.
Okay.
And then I lived in Germany, and 4 years I lived in Asia.
Okay.
My original profession is waiter.
Wait. Okay.
Waiter.
Wait.
That's how I
Okay.
came to know my friend who was a cook. Then we traveled together, and that was
Ah.
nice to leave our stressed profession, which was not good. I born in Holland, so the first 6 years of my life I lived in Holland, and then the war came, the Second World War, and we were Germans, so we had to go back to Germany.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Okay.
My
Okay.
father had to be a soldier
Okay. Okay.
to fight for that criminal Hitler. I think we planned to go eastwards as far as possible. And then we went so long eastwards, it was encouraged again and again, and finally, by going eastwards, we arrived in Europe again, you see.
Yes.
So it was not really a world trip planned, it just was going, seeing other countries, and one of the little main goals was to meet the Japanese girl again, which my friend met in Switzerland, actually.
Okay. It was her. It was
It was not really a girlfriend, just
it was not a girlfriend.
just saying,
Just
well,
a
why
friend.
don't you come to Japan?
Okay.
And we made an appointment in a famous temple in Japan, in the city of Nara. There's a huge Buddha,
Okay.
biggest Buddha of the world. And we said, okay, when the cherry blossoms blossom like
Okay.
this, then we will meet there.
Okay.
And we kept that promise.
You kept that promise.
But we're 3 years too late.
You were 3 years late,
We
but you
always
did.
said, when we miss you, the next year. When we miss you, next year.
So, how did you make contact with this girl? By phone or by letter
No,
or
but only that time by letter. Yes, that was the
only by
cheapest
letter?
way. Yes,
And how could she reach you?
by via Postrestant, it's called, via consulates. We told her to write
the
to that and
consulate.
that consulate, and we'll go there one day and fetch the letters.
Okay, I see. That's how you
Yeah,
communicated.
when we were in Iran, we told her to write via German consulate in Lahore, in Rawalpindi, or in Delhi,
Oh,
and so
okay.
on.
Okay.
Yeah, and so
That's-
when we came there were a dozen letters then.
When did you first? When was the first day that you left for this trip? Do you
Yeah.
remember the
Yeah,
exact date?
I think it was August 10 of 1955.
1955.
55, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you didn't have any problem because you were German, or?
No, contrary. No.
Okay.
Because also most of those countries were under colonial government of the enemy countries of Germany. So when we came there, they said, oh, German, yes, brave people fighting against the whole world and all this rubbish, you see.
Okay.
So we were very, very welcome because in those countries, they were colonized by countries of Europe, but Germany had no colonies. So
Okay.
Germany had a good reputation, fortunately. The first country was Austria. At that time, maybe to say, you needed a visa for Austria
Okay.
at that time. You see,
Okay.
and then the next country was Yugoslavia, Croatia, Greece, Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Iran, always Eastern, Pakistan, India, Malaysia, Indonesia,
Okay.
China, Japan, and then to Canada. And then from Canada southwards until Guatemala.
You went from Canada, United States, Mexico, Guatemala.
Yes, that's right. And then back to Mexico, and in Vancouver we got a boat, a Norwegian boat. The Norwegians were very generous to take us always, with Norwegian boats. And from there we went to Casablanca in North Africa.
From Vancouver, you went to.
From Vancouver we went down by bicycle to Mexico, Guatemala.
Okay.
We returned to Mexico to Veracruz.
Okay.
And in Veracruz, we found a Norwegian boat which took us to Casablanca in Morocco.
In Morocco. Okay.
Okay.
Again for free. You
Again
just
for
talk
free. Yes.
to the
Well,
captain.
we helped on the boat painting here and there.
Okay.
No problem, yeah.
Okay. So and then from Morocco you just move
Back to Germany.
Okay.
Yeah. But then our tandem was broken, so my father sent 2 single bicycles to us. And so the last trip was not anymore on a tandem, but the last part from Casablanca to Germany back was on 2 single bicycles.
2 single bicycles. Why did you decide to leave for a world trip? What was your main motivation?
Well, I think my main motivation came already before, because I have chosen the profession of waiter, because I thought there you can change always the employer without having a bad reputation. In that profession it's good to have many employers. And so that's why I learned that already, with the intention to go out in the world. Originally as a waiter, but later we skipped that and I went just as a Boy Scout, as a tourist.
Okay.
And so the regional matter was just to know the world, because it was good for my profession to know the world. My friend was a cook by profession, and that's how I know him. We were working in the same hotel, me as a waiter and then he as a cook, but we had to work Christmas, Saturday, Sunday, always holidays, and then we said, no, we must do something different. Our life cannot be to be next 50 years cook or waiter. We have to do something different. And that's what we decided, to get out of that routine life.
Okay.
Yeah, because then we went away. We had no insurance anymore, no sickness insurance, no
okay.
life insurance. It was a risk.
It was a risk.
We took to get out of the routine life.
And how old were you when you made this decision?
21, 22.
So you were 22.
20, exactly when we started finally, I was 22.
Okay.
But the idea came when I was 21.
Okay. And so you just planned to go to East. You didn't really plan to go worldwide.
My friend had an appointment with a Japanese girl. And so,
okay.
so he made here in Switzerland with a Japanese girl, and she invited him to come to Japan. And so we said, okay, one of our goals is Japan, to meet that girl again.
Okay, it was your friend.
Yeah, my friends.
You didn't have a girl to meet in Japan?
No, he had. And I just said, okay, it's a good occasion to go until Japan.
So what happened after you went to Japan? Did you decided just simply to continue going to the United States or Canada, or where did you go?
We were waiting and hoping to get a boat free of charge to go to the American continent. And finally a Japanese boat took us as a worker on the boat to Canada, from Yokohama to Canada, but we didn't have to work on that boat. The captain said, no, you're my private guest.
Oh.
And we didn't work on that boat. And the only work we had to do was, when we passed the date line, we had to think that everywhere we should not take the calendar paper which went to the next day, because the next day was repeating. And that was a special adventure for us, that we lived twice the second day.
Okay.
Our only work, the captain said, is to pay attention that the calendar was okay everywhere, because of the date line.
During this trip or adventure to go toward this Japanese girl, what do you have what moment have you preferred from this trip? What moment? Do you have a special moment that really...
Oh, we had many special... One special moment was succeeding the second special moment, and so on and so on. And we were afraid of wild people, wild animals, but that was not true. Big hospitality all the way from Germany to Japan. We always were received with the greatest hospitality possible. And that made our trip possible, because we had no money.
Okay.
So we were depending on all those friendly people during the whole trip, who invited us to their homes. So we couldn't stay in hotels. That was too expensive.
Okay. So you did this whole trip without paying.
We had some small income because we went to schools and university to speak about our trip until that moment.
Okay.
From Germany on bicycle to Turkey, to Iran, to Pakistan. And so the conference became longer and longer with the trip. And in those schools, we collected money with a hat. So we used about 50 francs a month.
Okay.
And those 50 francs we collected during our trip in speaking and showing photos about our trip. We stayed 1 year in Indonesia because we loved that country. It is the biggest Muslim country.
Okay.
At the same time, it was the most hospitable country. I was ill in Indonesia. I had to go in a hospital. I stayed 3 months in a Muslim hospital, free of charge.
Okay.
So they destroyed the bill because we had no money. I was accepted in Indonesia when I was ill, I was bitten by a snake. Okay?
In Indonesia, you got bitten by a snake.
So
Okay.
I was in Bali, I was lame, paralyzed.
Oh,
see?
you were paralyzed.
But I was accepted by that hospital as a prodeo patient. You know what that means?
No.
God pays for him.
Ah.
So all the bills were sent to Allah. Allah paid.
Okay.
And so I was there free of charge because of their hospitality, a Muslim hospital.
A Muslim
So
hospital.
we must stress that because many people now think, oh, they are all making attacks or bombing or whatever. You see?
Yes.
They were the most hospitable people. Very modern country in their customs of hospitality.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you manage to talk to the hotel or the people and say, what did you say to just
Well,
to
I
stay
s-
for free or?
Yeah, actually, it's very important to learn at least 50 words in that language. When you know 50 words Japanese or 50 words Chinese, it opens all the doors. You
Okay.
just have to say thank you and hello and how are you? And when they notice that you try to speak their language, even when it's with 50 words, then they offer you the greatest hospitality possible.
Okay. Okay. And do you believe there are similarities or big differences between these countries, like from Europe to Japan, like all these? I mean, you saw many countries, and I don't know if for you, like, were they very different one from another?
One thing was equal in all the countries, that was the hospitality and the friendliness.
Okay.
That was from Germany to Japan, always big welcome,
Okay.
big welcome.
Okay.
Yeah. And we learned many things because we're passing through many religious different areas. First Islam, and then Hinduism, again Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism. So we learned many things because of the different religions in the different regions. That was very, very interesting.
What have you kept from this trip?
Well, one thing what we kept, of course, was that in the poorest countries there were rich people also. The differences between rich and poor in those different countries, and it built up our social conscience. When I came back, I was more in favor of human rights. Yeah, for these countries, because I thought all the countries have poor people who don't know how to fight for themselves. So when we came back, we joined their fight for better conditions in those countries. And that gave the birth to the second lever which I wrote. That's actually a consequence of this book, is that book,
Okay.
because of the human rights problems which we met in many countries.
Okay.
So that's why this is another round trip around the world, but on the basis of human
On
rights.
human rights. Oh, okay. So it awakens a
Social
part
conscious.
of social consciousness. So after you did this trip, which year did you
This one,
write this book?
oh, that was already, that was about 25 years later, after the trip, because I had to digest first. First I wrote this book, and while writing this book I noticed many things have to be separated. And I separated the sources in that little book which is again a world trip, but only human rights
Okay.
questions. Yeah, and here was more Boy Scout book.
Okay. So do you think people should travel to awaken some kind of social consciousness, or
That would
also
be-
right now ecological?
Yeah, actually both. I think we should go travel through those countries to fight against our prejudices which we have. You see, so the neighboring country is always a bad country. You see, enemy country. And so when you travel through those countries, you see in all those countries are good people and bad people. And we had the good luck to meet only good people most of the time. It was excellent.
Regarding human rights, do you believe, like around the world, these countries you travel to, do they have the same freedom that compared to today? Like when you travel in 1955, like we move towards today, 2016. Do you believe there's been an evolution into this
Yes.
human right or integration worldwide? Or
Well, yes, there is a development for the positive, I think. For instance, India is a democratic country, yeah, and some of the countries, Iran was a democratic country, now it's a religious country. When we were there, it was rather open. When we were in Iran, for instance, there were no veiled women. The women had open faces. And there was a development to the negative, if you want so. Less rights for women. But in most of the countries, there was a development towards more human rights, towards more equality between men and women, more education for children. I think the development in Asia was positive since that time. Yeah.
okay, so it's positive.
Yes. Yes, I
That's
think
good.
it's,
That's
yes.
good to mention, because right now today a lot of people are more like negative, or
Yes.
many people believe we're going backwards, but actually
We are going forward.
we're going forward.
And
Little by little, we're going
yes,
forward.
we're going forward, and more people worry about more people. That means there are more and more organizations who take care, who worry, like Amnesty International and other human rights organizations, which did not exist at that time. They were born later
Okay.
because of that consciousness.
Before leaving for a big trip, at that time, it was considered like a big adventure, like going to see really the unknown.
Yes.
But today, with the internet, you can already plan everything, and you can already see where you're going, and you have an idea or a picture in your mind of the places you'll be. And what do you think about this?
Well, I don't know. At that time, for instance, certain things were much easier. For instance, you could apply for the visa of the next country always in the country before. That is not anymore possible. You know, in Iraq, we could apply for the visa for Iran. In Iran, we could apply for the visa for Pakistan, and so on. Now you need to do everything here. If you go to Iraq and then apply for a visa for Iran, you will never get it. You see, at that time you just could travel, like in very old times, last century, the young people who traveled with their profession crossed the borders without showing a passport.
Okay.
And so it was in a certain sense easier for us because at that time there were not so strict controls.
Okay.
Many times we could pass the border just like that.
Okay. So right now you believe it's more complicated.
It's more complicated for a visa to get to those countries.
Okay.
But it's easier when you have money to go there.
Yeah.
But you need the money, of course, to go
Okay.
by plane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And the trip by itself, like visiting things, do you think it's easier, or is more complicated, or it's kind of like the same?
Well, it's easier because now you have everywhere tourist guides, you know, the people who show you around. But at that time, we were shown around by our friends. There were no tourist guide, no travel agencies who organized trips to famous Hindu temples, to famous mosques and all this. We came to know all those places by the people who lived there, who didn't earn money in showing us,
Okay, okay, I see, I see.
just by friendship.
So in the end, all the trip you did, you never use any travel agency
Oh,
or
no.
any
Yes,
or
never.
any company.
No.
So you did the whole world tour in tandem,
Yes,
just with your friend in a
that's right.
bike.
Well,
No.
we used 3 tandems.
Okay, three
We
tandem.
spoiled 3 tandems and we had to get new ones and
Oh,
frame
okay.
and repair, yes.
Okay, okay, I see.
But
I
that
see.
was our plane. That
Okay.
was our aeroplane, the tandem.
Okay, yeah, it was a part of the plan. Yes.
Yes. And,
Okay.
and instead of aeroplanes, we used the bicycle, which was our possibility to move.
Do you think do trips or discovering different cultures and countries have the same appeal today compared to before?
Well, I think the personal contact, the personal friendship at that time was very, very big. Now people think it's not our business to take care of tourists. It's the business of the tourist agency. So at that time, the contact and the tourism was different. It depended more on personal friendship. And now it depends on organization.
Yeah, I
Yes,
see.
that is more organized. At that time, there was no organization to plan the next country. We just went and were received.
Oh, okay, I see. I see. So, do you believe people back then was friendlier than today?
Yes, I think so. And also they were more curious because at that time there was no television. Our visit there, that was their television. So they
Okay.
asked 1,000 questions which they would not anymore ask now because they have television. But
Okay,
at
I
that
see.
time they asked us all they asked, for instance, let us say, what will you do when in Berlin the tiger comes and wants to eat you?
Okay.
There are no tigers. You see? It's such
Okay.
question because they
The-
considered that the world is like their own country. Well,
in your opinion, what can we learn when we travel?
yeah, well, we can learn, for instance, that everywhere are people friendly and unfriendly, and hospitality, no hospitality, poor people, rich people, and that they have their worries. They have worries like we have, let us say, daily bread, how to find work and all this. So the destiny and faith and worries, the daily worries for the poor people are the same like here. There's no difference
Okay, I see.
to get your daily bread. Yeah.
Okay, to get your daily bread. Okay, so you believe traveling right now it's important, as you mentioned before. It's more than learning different cultures.
Oh, it's much more.
It's more
Yeah.
about getting consciousness, being
Yes.
conscious of of reality and like, well, what you said before, social consciousness and also ecological and
You learn it more on a personal level,
yes.
from people to people, not by political declarations, but
Okay.
by the personal experience.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's very important.
If you could give advice to young or new travelers, what would you tell them?
Well, I would tell them, I mentioned that already before, to learn 20 or 30 words of their language before you go there. That you can say good morning, goodbye, and thank you very much. Because that is the first step for a personal relationship.
Okay.
To know at least a few dozen of their words.
Okay.
You cannot speak English, not even in a modern country like Japan. You cannot go in a village and speak only English. It's impossible.
Okay.
So I knew about 200 words in Japanese. I learn slowly, and that opens the doors. Then you get invitations to eat, to visit that place, for an excursion here and there.
Okay,
But
that's
if you don't know one word, it's very, very difficult. You
okay.
cannot open the door then.